Hi everyone, and welcome back to today's video. We're going to be jumping into a series today on open farm. So I get asked all the time, open farm, open farm. I did a video on open farm. You can check the original video out if you want to know my first impressions of the brand. But then I continue to get asked questions about them. My number one search term across my channel or whatever YouTube tells me is open farm, and so we just finished up a major series on Farmina, and so I thought I would give open farm a second chance. I was not super impressed with them. There are things certainly about the brand that is wonderful, and I can certainly see why it appeals to people. If you want to hop on over to their website, which is openfarmpet.com, the message they send is very nice, right? They're all about the nature. They're all about the humane sourcing, 100% obsessed with the standard of every ingredient. They showed these beautiful pictures of all these animals that are living their best life, and I'm all about that. I'm all about it. But what I'm all about more, as far as when you guys ask me questions as a veterinarian, what am I into? I'm into the health of your pet, your personal pet, right? If you're my client, I am concerned about your personal pet. And so if I'm concerned about your personal pet and your personal pet first, what I am most interested in a pet food is the nutrition that food provides to your pet, first and foremost. There are certainly other things, ancillary things that I agree with and I think are wonderful, and I love them, and I love them for you. But I need to love the nutrition first, okay? And so that has been my little bitty, tiny little, not really small because it is a big thing because we're here for nutrition, but my little issue with open farm, because my first analysis of it, and actually honestly my second analysis, with my ability to get some of my questions answered, I was not super happy. And so I thought I would give them a second or third chance here to see if there's some good options, because a lot of you really love this brand, and I want to find some options in this brand that are both nutritious and have some of these other ancillary feel-good things that you guys really like. And so today we're going to do dog. This is my plan for this is going to be a 3-part series. So be sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell. Or if you're watching this at the early want to watch this, hopefully if you're a member, you're getting this series on early release, and I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for doing that. It's going to be a 3-part series, so it's going to be cat food is going to be part of the series, and then we're going to do some of their fresh, gently cooked diets, and then we're going to be doing the dry kibble for the dog. We are not going to be doing the freeze-dried raw or the raw mixed kibbles. You guys know that as a general rule, for the general population, I don't usually recommend raw. Okay, there's got to be a specific reason that your pet needs it if you're going to deviate kind of on the outskirts, on the fringes of what veterinarians and the veterinary profession in general recommend. May be appropriate for you, it's not appropriate for the general populations, therefore it's not going to be discussed on the interwebs of this channel. The freeze-dried, raw, sprayed-on stuff, I just think is silly. There's no point in taking a cooked kibble and then getting some juices and spraying on there and then telling people that that's providing some sort of nutrient benefit to the pet. I just think that that's silly. If somebody out there can explain to me why spraying raw juices on a pet food is providing some sort of a nutrition benefit, please let me know, because in all my nutrition studies and all my post-doctorate nutrition studies, I have never heard of that as a way of providing ancillary health benefits. So please point me in that direction. I learn from you guys all the time, and I am being serious if there is something that shows that that's a benefit. Otherwise, what we're going to be starting on today is going to be the dry dog food. Actually, let's do the wet. We're going to do the wet food. We're going to do the wet food first. I want to do the wet first. So that's the gently cooked. So go ahead and click gently cooked if you're following along. This is the wet dog food version, so you can see if you're following along on the website. That's what it looks like. Looks like chicken curry to me. It's not chicken curry, I don't think, but you can see some bits and pieces of things in there. It is cooked, so it's slowly cooked. and it says it's instantly devoured. I mean, and that's good. It's good that your pet likes your food. I want your pet to like their food, obviously. They've got a couple different options that we're gonna go through today. I believe there were 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, there were 7. I did go ahead and already look through these because I had some extra time, and it's going to be kind of a series, so I wanted to make a lovely chart for you guys, and so I did that. Okay, so we're going to start from the red bag here, which is the grass-fed beef recipe, and we're going to go all the way through to the puppy recipe at the end. So starting off with the grass-fed beef recipe. Got that buzzword, grass-fed beef. I have no problem with grass-fed beef. I grow my own beef, okay? I grow my own beef. My own beef is grass-fed. Do finish out with a little bit of corn, but I'm all about that, and I love that, and I love that for you, right? So anyway, grass-fed beef. Yes, I'm all about it. I like the grass-fed beef. I want you to have grass-fed beef if you want grass-fed beef. This particular food, all these foods in this line are formulated, so they didn't feeding trial any of those. A lot of companies are no longer doing feeding trials. We did find a few that did, some previous ones. What was the last one I did? And it was the Just Food for Dogs. I believe they did feeding trials on theirs, and so there's not that many. There are a few out there. It was AFCO labeled for adults, so we like that. It's specifically saying this is for an adult dog, and it is tailored to what they feel an adult dog should get. Now, the numbers that we're going to be using, I did not list them here because there were some conversions that had to happen. So if you go on the Open Farm website, so let's just pop over there really quick. What I do like about their website, and I really do respect this, is if you go to their website, they do have a lot of the stuff that I believe to be marketing. So this hearty, slow-cooked recipe is packed with protein and nutrients, humanely raised, 100% grass-fed beef, blah, blah, blah. That's all wonderful, but if the nutrients aren't there, it doesn't matter to me. Because what's the point of feeding grass-fed and this and that and the other if they're not putting that compilation together appropriately to provide the appropriate nutrition to your pet? Your pet doesn't care if the beef is grass-fed if it's not being put together in a formula that is nutritionally appropriate for them. So anyway, if you click on nutrition and benefits and you scroll down a little bit, it says view complete nutritional profile. This is where I am getting the information from that I am utilizing to put these little check boxes in the chart, okay? We are skipping this column here. You do not want to use the as-fed column. You want to use the dry matter basis column. That is what the standards are in small animal clinical nutrition, where I am getting this information. I'm going to pop up the adult standards there. Now, the adult standards as I have in my chart are not going to be useful for this particular diet. The reason being is this very first column here you should always be paying attention for. And this is the metabolizable energy. This is the energy density of the food. So I get, and actually just today I got this comment about a food that didn't score well. And they're saying, well, the food is super nutrient dense. And so, it's going to be an excess in all of these, parameters. No, that's not true, because when a food is energy dense, as this one is, so it is 5,508 kcals per kilogram. Now that is not caloric density, that is energy density. When a food is energy density dense and it is above 3,500 to 4,000, I do a correction, okay? And I have a whole video on how, that has to be done and why that has to be done, and you can absolutely 100% read that chapter in Small Animal Clinical Nutrition, and you can understand that more. I'm not going to go over that again. I'm not going to go over that in every single video, but I have done the energy density conversion in order to make these numbers appropriate in the chart, okay? So I've taken that energy density and I have adjusted the standards to account for that energy density, and then use these numbers on a dry matter basis to then determine if they're within the standards or not, okay? So when we pop back over to this chart, these checks in XYZ are after that conversion. So if you try to do this at home and you do not know how to do that conversion, you're not going to come up with the same answers as me. And again, I'm not going to go over all that. You're just going to have to trust me on this one. And if you don't trust me, I can't help you there. So anyway, they are going to get 1 point for it being appropriate on the AFCO statement. It is grain-free. All of these were grain-free except for the ones here that you will see that are indicated as no. None of these were raw. Now, the grass-fed beef recipe, when corrected for the metabolizable energy, did have the appropriate amount of protein. However, it was excess in fat, but it was fine in fiber, calcium, phosphorus, and then the amount of food that they recommended you feed your pet, which I actually think is important because a lot of these like fresh food things tend to be off. It actually was recommending it correctly. So they ended up scoring a 7 out of 10. Pretty good score, and I think a good option here for you guys because to be excess on fat, actually, if you have a little bit of a higher energy dog or a dog that tends to be thin, you want that extra fat. A lot of people, and I think this is getting better, I don't know, you could correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of people used to be like, oh, my pet is skinny, I just need more protein, more protein, more protein. And maybe in people that's true. But in animals, it's really the fat that you need that. So I think if you have a pet that tends to be on the thinner side and you struggle to put on weight, this excess fat actually may work for you. And then the other deduction that they got was because it was formulated. So if you don't take those things into consideration, it actually is pretty good. Now I am, for me personally, the grain-free thing would be a deal breaker. I need more information on that. I think there's a significant risk there. Once your pet has dilated cardiomyopathy, there's no going back. So is that something that you want to risk? Me personally, no. I would never do it for my personal pet. But maybe it's something that you feel comfortable with and you've discussed it with your personal veterinarian. You're happy with rolling the dice there, and maybe 10 years from now we'll find out that we were, all of these anti-grain-free people were wrong and all of you grain-free people were right. Maybe, I don't know, and I can't read the future, and so for right now, it's not worth the risk for me. But that was a 7 out of 10, so potentially a good option for you, for those of you out there that are okay with that. The next one was the surf and turf. So obviously that's going to be a fish-based formula. Again, it was formulated. It was for adults. Again, yes, it was grain-free. No, it is not raw. And then this one here kind of started to lose a little steam for me. And so they were good on the protein and excess on the fat, just like the beef. But then we were also excess on some of the minerals as well. So even with the feeding guide being appropriate, the surf and turf was only scoring a 5 out of 10, which is really suboptimal for me. And so I'm not super interested in that one for any particular reason. If you have a pet that has a food sensitivity and they need to be on, a fish-based diet for that reason, I think there's some other good options out there that score a little bit higher. Even, better options maybe that were in the fresh food category that were fish-based that maybe score a little bit higher. Okay, then we're moving on to the turkey. Turkey is in the poultry family. Right next to it, we're going to have the chicken, so they're both going to be pretty similar because they are in that poultry family. And if we look at them side by side, you can see that they actually are both exactly the same. Both grain-free, both formulated for adults, and both not raw, good on the protein. Again, back with that excess fat. It seems to be kind of like their thing that they like to do. Fiber, calcium, phosphorus, and feeding guide were correct, so these are both going to score a 7 out of 10. So again, for me, it's a deal breaker for me because of the grain-free, but all in all, nutritionally aside from that, pretty good there. Then we got into, this was called farm to table or something like that. It was their grain inclusive version of this gently cooked. They had 2 varieties. They had, again, the grass-fed beef, but they've added brown rice now, and they've got the chicken and brown rice formula. And so, I like that. The first one was the chicken and brown rice. It scored a little bit lower than the beef, as you can see. The beef actually scored quite well, and I am wholeheartedly happy about the grain inclusive beef. They both were formulated and they were both all life stage. I do not know why they chose to do that with this particular variety. But even though it was all life stage, it did check all the boxes for every single nutrient value and the feeding guide on the grass-fed beef. However, the chicken version, it was excess in the minerals. So along with being all life stage and excess in those, it dropped that down to a 6 out of 10. So if I really liked Open Farm and I really like what they're about and I really like their message, and I wanted to feed this food and I wanted to find a food that was nutritionally, a good nutritional option, and basically a feel-good option for me for some of the ancillary things, and you're looking for one of those fresh food type situations, I would go personally. I would look into maybe doing this grass-fed beef and brown rice recipe because it scored an 8 out of 10. They did have a puppy variety that I thought was also pretty good, but again, it was grain-free. It's like some of the first ones that we did. And I mean, your puppy's developing. I have a hard time pulling a trigger on a grain-free, especially for a puppy. But even with that in mind, it was formulated all life stages, had the grain-free. It wasn't raw. It was good on the protein. Again, a little bit high in the fat. I'm certainly not really worried about that for a puppy. They are usually burning a lot of energy and having to keep up with those gains, so they kind of need that extra fat. But it was good on the fiber, calcium, phosphorus, and the feeding guide. Brought that up to a 7 out of 10, so not a bad option for your puppy. So it may be a situation where you want to feed this brand, and so you do the puppy, and then you switch to the grain inclusive grass-fed beef for the adulthood. Potentially. So that was the first chart, mega chart here for Open Farm. I think the winner here was the grass-fed beef and brown rice formula. The others scored reasonably good. The surf and turf was kind of bringing up the rear there. But really, I really feel most comfortable saying, that 8 out of 10 for the grass-fed brown rice, gently cooked was the winner here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you'll like and subscribe and ring the bell so that you get notified when the rest of this series publishes. And I will catch you guys next time. Bye.